Mana Nyaro, Yeah. time. We have talents, we have abilities. But Lord Jesus, only you know in perfect detail the end from the beginning. Every project, everything in life, nothing is ever in vain, Lord Jesus. Strengthen us to have the confidence in who you have made us to be. Bless this launch today. Time. We have talents, we have abilities. But Lord Jesus, only you know in perfect detail the end from the beginning. Every project, everything in life, nothing is ever in vain, Lord Jesus. Strengthen us to have the confidence in. And I'll start with the head of financial stability at the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Joseph Francis. Time. We have talents, we have abilities. But Lord Jesus, only you know in perfect detail the end from the beginning. Every project, everything in life, nothing is ever in vain, Lord Jesus. Strengthen us to have the confidence in. We have talents, we have abilities. Everything in life, nothing is Lord Jesus. Strengthen us to have the confidence in. We have talents, we have abilities. Mr. Al-Hassan and Danny, let's welcome you. Round of applause.
Truly delighted that Cimg, which has distinguished itself over several years of picking the very best in industry on various courses, has taken upon itself to do this exercise. And just to remind Cimg that this is not only for the consumption of the banks in Ghana and regulators in Ghana, it's also for the consumption of investors and other participants on the international scene who see Ghana as a very fertile market. So on this note, I just want once again to thank the executives of Cimg for giving me the honor to chair this, and I'll hand over to you, Mr. MC, and in due course, I'm sure we'll make some further remarks. Thank you very much.
Thank you very, very much.
Let's give him a round of applause, the chairman for today's event, Mr. Alhassan Mdani. And he said it all. It's very, very important, for the banks, but also for then we get to know which banks are doing very well. And also of importance is the fact that the surveyed in this report, they talked about the importance they attach to all the dimensions. So it's not just saying, I assess the bank this way, but also you're telling us that this is the level of importance I attach to the various dimensions of service quality. As we move on, we'd invite the president of the Chartered Institute of Marketing Ghana, Dr. Daniel Kasati, to give us his welcome address.
Thank you, Winston. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Chairman, who happens to be my own big brother, Hassan Mdani. Our special guest, Dr. France, representing the Governor of the Bank of Ghana, the President and Executive Council of the Ghana Association of Bankers on the call tonight, the CEO of the Ghana Association of Bankers, members of the Technical Committee for the Cimg Customer Satisfaction Index 2021 Research Project, representatives from other industries joining us virtually, our three media partners, the Multimedia Group, Business and Financial Times, the Corporate Guardian magazine, media men and women, physically present and also joining us virtually, Executive Council of the Ghana, members of Cimg, good evening to you all. Let me take this opportunity to thank you all for making time to join us tonight. As you may be aware, we are working as a marketing institute to execute part of our mandate to conduct innovative research and promote the interests of consumers in Ghana. This mandate is derived from Section 3F of the Chartered Institute of Marketing Ghana Act 2020, Act 1021. As you may know, national customer satisfaction indices have been developed for domestically purchased and consumed products and services over the years in other jurisdictions. Countries known to have established their own indices include the Swedish Customer Satisfaction Barometer, established in 1989 as the very first in the world, German Customer Barometer 1992, American Customer Satisfaction Index 1990, the Norwegian Customer Satisfaction Barometer 96, the European Customer Satisfaction Index 1999. In between and up until now, there have been many others across Europe, India. In Africa, South Africa is on record to have established the SA Customer Satisfaction Index in 2013. Just like the Turkish Customer Satisfaction Index, which was organized in the fourth quarter of 2005, this Cimg Customer Satisfaction Index, but was carried out on a very large scale for one of the most important sectors of Ghana's economy, banking. And this represents the maiden index for Ghana. To traditional measures of economic performance, providing useful information for banks, their shareholders, investors, governments, regulators, and most importantly, consumers of financial services. We are here tonight to establish the Cimg Customer Satisfaction Index for banking as a start establishment of the GH Customer Satisfaction Index for the country. This will take into account the structure of the Ghanaian economy, relating to the composition of GDP, as well as the basket of goods and services used for measuring consumer price index in the country. This will, by this, we will be able to capture all sectors that impact on the daily lives of the Ghanaian people. Data for this 2021 Cimg Customer Satisfaction Index were gathered mainly from retail and consumer customers at the premises of banking halls to enable us to gauge their immediate post-consumption experiences. Going forward, we will adopt the relatively new approach of cumulative customer satisfaction, which represents a consumer's overall evaluation of a service based on the purchase and consumption experience over time, as opposed to the experience of an immediate purchase. This will enable us to reach a larger audience timely and cost-effectively, as the survey instrument will be administered electronically. It will also enable us to reach the B2B, the B2I, and the B2G segments of the organizational market across all the key industries to be included in those surveys. This will be an invaluable addition to consumer sentiments generated solely from individual buyers. I encourage everyone to look out and actively participate in all such future surveys, which would be commissioned in the last quarter of each year and the report in the second quarter or in the third quarter of every year. Let me emphasize that it is on purpose that we chose to start with banking, as this industry is one of the best regulated ones for which the regulator exercises much control and can easily ensure that a certain minimum quality standard is maintained by all players. This, we believe, will ensure that consumers get what they pay for and what they expect, which is nothing but an excellent service. Ladies and gentlemen, an excellent service is that which cannot be below 100%. This is because a 99.9 achievement of service quality has dire implications for the consumer. And these are some of the implications if we achieve 99.9% of service quality. For every 1,000 babies delivered in a hospital, one will likely be given to the wrong parents. And that means the hospital is doing 99.9 quality service. With every 2,000 incoming flights to an airport, 2 are likely to crash. And that airport is doing 99.9% service quality. And for every 10,000, Mr. Governor, for every 10,000 checks that are presented within a certain country's banking institutions in a day, 10 will be deducted from the wrong accounts if banks are doing 99.9%. That is what 99.9% of service quality means to the end user. And this is the reality facing us, and for which we seek to bring some standardization to bear on. We have, as an institute, upon sober reflections, through discussion and some benchmarkings with the best in class across the globe, come up with the following categorizations for performance with appropriate recommendations for Ghana's case. So for starters, we say a bank or an organization is doing excellent service if your service quality score ranges between 91 and 100%. We then award you 5-star. You do very good service if your service quality ranges between 81 and 90, and that is a 4-star performance. If your quality ranges between 71 and 80, and that is a 3-star. 51 to 70, that is a 2-star, and no customer wants that. And poor service, indeed, very poor service, if you do anything up to 50%, and that is a 1-star. For each industry studied, Cimg will recognize and reward 3 top performing companies during that year's Cimg Annual National Marketing Performance Awards. Service quality is the main tool used for establishing the Cimg Customer Satisfaction Index. The recommended cutoff point, as I have indicated, is performance greater than 70%. Anything short of that could easily lead to customers voting with their feet or taking actions of different kinds, including legal actions, for which the bank management of the individual banks, since they impact directly on their market share, incomes, and profits, as will be demonstrated very soon, leading countries in the sub-region, joining the likes of South Africa to establish this index for the continent. I assure you that the Cimg Customer Satisfaction Index will help product and service organizations in Ghana to improve service quality standards, to further enhance customer satisfaction, and also propel Ghana to join the ranks of other countries that have long established such indices. Just to let you know what we have been doing. So, our maiden visit was to Mr. Alassane Andani, then in his capacity as the president of the Ghana Association of Bankers, immediately before the lockdown, somewhere in February this year. He gave us his blessing and held our hands to the Ghana Association of Bankers, where our good friend, the late Mr. Daniel Mensah, DK Mensah, popularly called, and his then deputy, John Ewua, also received us and took our proposal to the Executive Council of the Ghana Association of Bankers, made up of the managing directors of all 23 universal banks. And they all welcomed the idea and quickly put together a technical committee made up mainly of marketing and all client engagement heads of those institutions. Between March and April, we engaged ourselves in data collection. Between May and June, we were working the numbers, doing data analysis. July, report writing. August, stakeholders consultations. And indeed, we consulted researchers and academics across industry and also in academia. We consulted, we had stakeholders discussions with a cross-section of marketing practitioners across industry. We had engagements with the Ghana Association of Bankers, and we had a wonderful presentation to the governor and his team. He was ably represented by Dr. France. And I'm glad to mention that that day you had approximately 40 members, senior management members of the Bank of Ghana on that call for the presentation. This is how the governor attached, the level of importance the governor attached to this work. And today, even though he is not able to be here, he has delegated Dr. France again to be with us. And we are here today in September, the 30th day of September, witnessing the launch. As indicated, questionnaire for future surveys will be made available on the Cimg website and via emails, WhatsApp groups, and other electronic and digital channels. The study will cover many more industries to reflect the daily lifestyle of the average Ghanaian consumer. Having started with the banking industry for 2021, each of the 23 banks will be very useful in shaping the the how aspect, and our performance as banks across. As a service-oriented industry, of the be the voice of our your that could or improve profitability in the direction of service quality. Our collaboration with Cimg should help us as an industry to develop the skills and competencies of our staff, listening to the voice of our customers and end users of our products and services. Our focus as an industry is based on making conscious efforts to systematically listen to the perceptions, the needs, the expectation, and equally more important, but the fears of our customers and users to achieve their aspirations. It is an expectation, therefore, that the results of the customer satisfaction index will set benchmarks to other industries and new processes that the banking industry or is expecting of important standard. We are confident that the banking industry will tap into the expertise distinguished ladies and gentlemen. The industry agrees with the survey that customers are and are looking for a financial service industry whose staff understand customer needs and create appropriate solutions to us. We further acknowledge that customers expect quality in products and services. And more importantly, they expect to receive quality service from their banks. We conclude on a challenging lesson of this quote. If you have some magic power and were able to discover exactly what customers are craving, and if you also knew how to produce their dream product at a lower price, then you need to get rich. Therefore, capturing the exact voice of the customer is like striking gold. This is by Dr. Kayam, the actor of the voice of the customer, capture and analysis. Customer success is an to observe that the launch of this as a catalyst in our engagement with our customers and end users, as it provides us with a critical component to driving industry-wide efforts to deliver value and happiness to our customers and users of our business. Thanks so much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Opari, representing the Ghana Association of Bank Marcus, and I like the fact that you know that this report would go a long way, one, in enhancing the things that you do, and also customers would think about bank. So at this juncture, for us to have the report, I mean, I know all of us are watching Joy News channel, and for those of you who are also watching on CIMG, the most important part of this program. This is where we do the presentation on the Customer Satisfaction Index report. Shall we, with a round of applause, invite Dr. Irenaeus Godona, who is the CEO of Consumer the report of the Satisfaction Index report 2021.
Thank you, Winston. Okay. All right. So, in terms of report, we would look at the background, which is the context, the objectives, the methodology and sampling, and then the key findings. In terms of context, which is the background, the president alluded to some of. So as we all know, excellent service quality is one of the key indicators that impacts positively on customer satisfaction, repeat purchase behavior, and ultimately improves performance. This has made service quality one of the key areas of interest for many researchers across the globe. Within the Ghanaian context, the three study constructs that Cimg focused on were service quality, customer satisfaction, and customer loyalty. I mean, these have been extensively explored by many researchers. However, none of the studies explored the establishment of a service quality index, so it's again this backdrop that the Channel Institute of Marketing, Cimg, commissioned this study. The study was thus built on the SERVPAF as well as the behavioral and financial service quality frameworks. This report contains just the key highlights of the baseline. So this is the first time, so this becomes the baseline of the study. By way of objectives, the broad objective of the study was to measure service quality, customer satisfaction, customer loyalty, and to establish a standard customer satisfaction index, which will be known as the Cimg-Csi for the banking industry. In terms of specific objectives, one, it assesses the level of service quality and customer satisfaction for traditional banking. Then we did same for what we term as remote banking. This, I will define this as we go on and as I go into the report. Then it measured the level of customer loyalty and then net promoter score. Then finally, we established the customer satisfaction index for the industry on the service quality measure. Who are going to be the beneficiaries of this particular survey? Banks, of course, regulators, customers, the general public, the media, and the Ghana Association of Bankers. I think in the chairman's opening remarks, he also mentioned the international community, he mentioned investors, and then all that. So these are all going to be beneficiaries of what we've done. In terms of theoretical models, we reviewed extensively a lot of models. and finally settled on this two, which is the self-path model and the financial consultant service quality model. So these were the two models that we actually guide us, and we've built a lot of models. How was the study conducted? We used random sampling approach, and we sampled 1:5. That it was post-consumption. So what we did was that there were exit interviews at the premises of the various banks. So while you were exiting, they approached you, introduced themselves, and if you agreed to the interview, it was done. Now, after you finish that particular interview, you observe a sampling gap of 1:5. The next bottom I mentioned. So, the mobile computers interviews. The data was collected electronically. Who did we spoke to customers of the various banks? So you have to be a customer of that particular bank for you to be qualified to be part of that particular interview. So if it happened that you just went to that you cash someone's check, we had a that would eliminate you. You have to be a customer of that particular bank for you to be qualified to be part of the study. Where was the study conducted? It was conducted in Accra, Kumasi, Akwari, and Tamale. Now for Accra, we made sure that all the headquarters branches were included in this study. For the other regions, what we did was that we worked with the various banks, their head of customer service, to select the branches or the regions. We didn't want the situation where people would actually say that you just went and picked a bank that you know, so we went to the bank in that region. In terms of sample size, it was 2,100 sample size. So each bank had a sample of 100. Each had a sample of 100. So total base, you would see, was 2,300. So this was the quota achieved. So you would realize that the final quota achieved, although we said our sample was 2,300, the final quota achieved was 2,230. This is because we had a challenge of one of the banks that we had to drop. By then we had conducted 30 interviews. So you would see that in the results that are presented, at the total level, we included that analysis. But then when it came to the individual banks, we actually took that bank off. So you would not be seeing 22 banks. Now, based on the results, we generated a customer profile based on the results. And per our sample, it was predominantly male, as you would see. In terms of age, it was between the age of 21 to 40 years. That was the predominant age. Although you would see that between 41 to 50 year age group was 19%. But predominantly, the customer profile that we interviewed was between 21 to 40 years. We wanted to find out whether there were two multiple banks or they just had only one bank. To see the 16 in terms of those who earned more than 2,000 to 5,000 for more in terms of they were those who earned 15,000 plus was 4%. That's what tells you salary levels of those we spoke to. So, first of all, look at operational satisfaction for traditional banking. When we say traditional banking, what do we mean by traditional banking? So our operational definition for traditional banking was customers who visit the bank for their transactions. So that's what we consider in terms of ratings. So we now look at the while responsiveness, assurance, empathy, and tangibles. Now, tangibles it refers to physical facility. If you take a like response, is the to help customers and provide dimensions that we use to analyze the service quality. Now, in terms of the service quality scores, now, you see that 94% of all the banks meet that service. That the banks meet that particular service quality. You look at, in terms of tangibles, in fact, it's 92% of the general base of all the banks meet quality. And assurance 88%. Now, so customers think it's important to them. It's reliability, which is 96%, and 97%, and then empathy 97%. So you would see that around looking at tangibles, what is important to the customer is reliability and responsiveness. It's something that actually now adopted skill to enable us to measure the individual banks. Earlier today, so any bank on each dimension, that's between 91% was excellent. You had a 5-star. Between 81 to 90% was very good service. That was commendable. Scored between 71 to 80% was satisfactory. If you scored between 51 to 70% was fair service, and then poor service was 50% unsatisfactory. Let's now see how the individual banks perform according to our star rating. So the first dimension is tangibles, and as you see, banks had 5. SG and so, and then banks have CDG, GTB, Stanbic Bank, as you can see. Another bank, which are the banks that had 5-star: EcoBank, Prudential Bank, Access Bank, and then Zenith Bank. In terms of 4-star, you had UNB, First National Bank, Carl Bank, and then ABSA. 3-star was Commercial, and then 2-star was ADB. In terms of ability. Now that takes us to responsiveness. I And if you see the first slide that I showed that had all the dimensions at the total level, you realize the customer was looking at reliability, responsiveness. So you can see only 7 banks had reliability. Now, in terms of responsiveness, 11 banks had 5-star. And these were Prudential Bank, EcoBank, and Access Bank. 10 banks had 4-star, Carl Bank, NIB, and then Omni Bank. And then again, only 1 bank had 3-star, and that was EDB again. Then in terms of empathy, 19 banks had 5-star. 2 banks had 4-star, and 1 bank had 3-star. And again, EcoBank, Prudential Bank, Carl Bank, ABSA, and Societe Generale were the banks that came on top in terms of the 5-star. And then you had Commercial Bank and then Bank of Africa, 4-star, and then again ADB was at the bottom and rated 3-star. Then in terms of assurance, 7 banks had 5-star, and these were EcoBank, Prudential Bank, UBA, and then First National Bank. Then 14 banks had 4-star, and then only 1 bank had 3-star. Again, that was African Development Bank that had 3-star on assurance. ADB, not Agriculture, it's not Agricultural Bank again, okay. ADB, okay, all right. So our overall service quality score, measure score, was 90%. In terms of importance, overall was 96%. How did the banks perform overall in terms of quality service? So 11 banks had 5-star, 10 banks 4-star, and then 1 bank, ADB, had 2-star. Which were the banks that had the 5-star? We have EcoBank, Prudential Bank, Societe Generale, and then Access Bank. In terms of 2-star, you had UNB, Stanchart, NIB, and then Omni Bank. So overall, service quality measure, these were the individual scores that they had, and then these were the total scores for the industry, which was 90%. Okay. Now, we did further analysis to find out what is driving the scores that we are seeing. So when you take the service quality measure, you would see that is empathy, tangibles, and responsiveness. That is driving the scores. And then when you take importance, what is driving importance is, again, empathy. So we have responsiveness on top there, and then you have empathy. So these are the service drivers in terms of when you regress the results to find out what is actually driving the measures that we are seeing. Okay, so that takes us to customer satisfaction for traditional banking. Now, in terms of customer satisfaction for traditional banking, overall, across the customer base, all the sample base we interviewed, 94% of them said they were satisfied with the current services that they were receiving from their banks. So per industry, satisfaction for traditional banking was 94%. How did they perform individually? Again, using our 5-star rating listing. So you see 19 banks had 5-star. 2 banks, that's Commercial Bank and then Bank of Africa, had 4-star, and then only 1 bank had 3-star, and that was ADB. I nearly said African Development Bank, so it's ADB, and had 3-star. Okay. So that is it for traditional banking. So we will now look at remote banking. And by remote banking, what do we mean by remote banking? It's banking in the palm or at the desk. That's customers who perform banking transactions on their devices, laptops, cell phones, and so we classify that as remote banking. But just to let you know that our main focus was on traditional banking. So what we did was that after interviewing on traditional banking, we then tried to find out for those who engage in traditional banking, whether they were into remote banking. So as we go along, you see that our sample size of 2,300 would drastically drop to, see. So look at the level of service quality. So first of all, so as I mentioned earlier, our focus was on the traditional banking. So when we asked, after we finished interviewing on traditional banking, and then we asked them whether they were into remote banking, 74% of them said they are not into remote banking. You can term that as digital or remote banking, but our operational definition is based on remote banking. So 74% of the sample said no, they were not involved in what we term as remote banking. 19% said they used the mobile app. 5% said they were into internet banking, and then 3% said they were using the USDD. Okay. So if you look at the individual banks, you would see that 34% of the EcoBank sample said they were not into remote banking. 55% said they were using the mobile app, and then 8% said they were into internet banking, and 3% into mobile banking. If you look at First National Bank, 52% of them said they were not into remote banking. So you can see NIB. NIB is only 4% that said they were into remote banking. So you can see that the CBG was around 88% said they were not into remote banking. So you can see how the various banks performed in terms of how they engage when it comes to their digital platforms. So I think the banks can take a clue from here. So what we then did was that subsequently we had to discard this 74% because they were not into remote banking. So the subsequent analysis is based on the 19, 5, and then 3%. Now, for remote banking, we had 6 dimensions because we had to add ease of use into it because that was a different platform. So we added ease of use. So you would see that we have 6 dimensions instead of 5 dimensions as per what we did for the digital, the traditional banking. Okay. So let's see how the various banks perform in terms of the measures, the service level agreement in terms of the measures. So as aesthetics came on top, as you see, 93%, followed by security and safety, which was also 94%. In terms of importance, what do the customer think is important when it comes to remote banking? In terms of the measures, is reliability, and then aesthetics. Okay. Now, we have security and safety to 97%. In terms of how the individual banks perform, again, we used our 5-star rating. So in terms of aesthetics and tangibles, 11 banks had 5-star. And that was Fidelity, Zenith, Cal Bank, and then First Atlantic Bank, and then EcoBank. 2 banks had 4-star, another 2 had 3-star, and then 6 banks had 2-star. And these were Stanbic, First National Bank, ABSA, and then again you had NIB at the bottom, having only 1 star when it comes to aesthetics and then tangibles. When we look at reliability, 8 banks had 5-star. And these are EcoBank, UBA, Zenith Bank, Ghana Commercial Bank. And then 6 banks had 4-star, Access, Fidelity, SG, and then Bank of Africa. 1 bank had 3 stars, and then 6 banks had 2 stars. And these were FNB, Stanbic, and ABSA. And then 1 bank had 1 star, and that was NIB in terms of remote banking. Ease of use, only 4 banks had 5 star. And these were Fidelity, UBA, and then Zenith. 7 banks had 4 star, 4 banks had 3 star, and then 5 banks had 2 star, and then 2 banks, which is F and B and then NIB, had 1 star. In terms of responsiveness, 4 banks had 5 star, which were Fidelity, UBA, and Zenith. 7 banks had 4 star, that's Carl, First Atlantic, and SG. 1 bank, which is GTB, had 3 star. Omni Bank, FNB, Stanbic, Absa had 2 star, and then total 8 banks had 2 star, and then FBN and then NIB had 1 star each in terms of level of responsiveness when it comes to remote banking. Then we have safety and security, which is assurance when you look at traditional banking. 8 banks had 5 star. 7 banks had 4 star. 1 bank had 3 star, and then 6 banks had 2 stars. And you can see that. Then we look at, in terms of empathy, 5 banks had 5 star, and this was Zenith Bank, Fidelity, CBG, PBL, and then Omni Bank. 6 banks had 4 star, which is Access, UBA, GTP, and then Bank of Africa. Then 1 bank had 3 stars, which was First Atlantic Bank. And then 5 banks had 2 stars, and then another 5 had 1 star. And these are UMB, Stand Charge, ADB, had 1 star each in terms of empathy. Then what is the overall service quality for remote banking? So you see that the overall score is 89%, which is far below what we had for traditional banking. And then the level of importance too was 95. How did the various banks perform in terms of overall service quality? You would see Zenith Bank, 5 star, so that's in all 5 banks. So Zenith Bank, UBA, Fidelity, EcoBank, and then CBG. 9 banks had 4 stars, and then 7 banks had 2 stars. That's FNB, Stanbic, Absa, and then NIB had only 1 star in terms of overall, their score on overall service score. Okay. So that takes us to customer satisfaction in remote banking. So you would see that overall satisfaction score for remote banking is 89%, which is far lower than what we recorded for traditional banking, which is 94%, as you would see in the previous slide that I showed. Okay, how did the various banks perform in terms of overall satisfaction? 11 banks had 5 star, Access, Carl, EcoBank, and then Fidelity. 3 banks had 4 star, and then 7 banks had 2 star, and then NIB had 1 star in terms of overall satisfaction when it comes to remote banking. What is driving the scores in remote banking? So you would see in terms of the service quality score is there's aesthetics, security, and then for the importance, you would see ease of use, responsiveness, and aesthetics. So when you do the regression analysis, you see this is what is driving the scores that you are seeing. Okay. Now, we now move to the level of customer loyalty. Now, level of customer loyalty, at this point, we brought the two together. So there's nothing like traditional banking and remote banking. So what we are going to see is totality of what the customer base is saying, irrespective of traditional banking or remote banking. So as you all know, a customer who is loyal is either emotionally or behaviorally. If he's very loyal, it means he's not emotionally connected and he can easily move. But somebody who is emotionally connected will do whatever he wants to do to stay. A customer who is disloyal will either leave your bank or reduce the level of transactions that he or she transacts with your bank. Okay? So in terms of behavioral loyalty, if you look at the total industry, was 72%. Emotional loyalty was 75%. Total customer loyalty measure was 73% for the industry. That is the banking industry. Again, using our 5-star rating, how did the individual banks perform when it comes to these two measures? So you see that when it comes to loyalty, none of the banks, let's take behavioral loyalty, none of the banks had 5-star. It's 4-star that the top banks had, which was EcoBank, UBA, and then Zenith Bank. 10 banks had 3-star, 8 banks had 2-star, and then 1 bank had 1-star, which is ADB. Emotional loyalty, again, none of the banks have 5-star in terms of emotional loyalty, which means the bank still has a lot of work to do in terms of how to engage their customers to improve loyalty. So emotional loyalty, only 4 banks, which was EcoBank, Prudential Bank, and then Zenith Bank. And then 15 banks had 3-star, which was Access, Stanchart, UBA, Carl Bank, and then UNB. 3 banks had 2-star, which CBG and the Bank of Africa, and then 1 bank had 1-star, again, which is African, and ADB. I don't know why I keep on saying African Development, because my father was a farmer, so I'm sure. But, anyway, so overall customer loyalty, 73%. Of the banks, in terms of overall loyalty, had 5-star. Again, it was 4-star, led by EcoBank and Zenith. In terms, then we had 6 banks having 3-star. No, I think 10 banks having 6-star. There's a shift here. And that was UBA, Prudential Bank, Access, Absa, and then Fidelity. Then only 1 bank had 1-star. And that's my favorite bank that earlier, which is ADB, had 1-star in terms of loyalty, which means, again, there's a lot of work to be done in terms of loyalty. There's a lot of work that needs to be done by the various banks because none of the banks had 5-star. Okay, so these are just the loyalty drivers. When it comes to behavioral loyalty, what is driving the scores of behavioral loyalty? So when we did the regression again, you see I do business with this bank because of their products and services. That was one of the key indicators. I do business with this bank because of the attitudes of their staff. And then I do business with this bank because of their image, adverts, branding, etc. So that was what was driving behavioral loyalty. If you look at emotional drivers for emotional loyalty, I deal with this bank because I want to, not because I have to. I will recommend this bank to anyone who seeks my advice. So you can see that the person is emotionally connected. So those were the key drivers when it came to emotional loyalty. Okay, so we also, as part of the analysis, did what we call the NPS, which is the Net Promoter Score. Now, the Net Promoter Score is based on a 11-point scale, which is detractors, passives, and promoters. Now, in calculating it, it's just the promoters minus the detractors, which will give you your NPS score. Okay. So, in terms of our NPS scores, Prudential Bank came on top with 77%, followed by EcoBank 73%, and Fidelity Bank 63%. Then these were the scores for the rest of the banks. So you would see that if you scored below 50, so all the banks who have scored below 50 have serious issues to fix when it comes to the NPS. There are very serious issues to fix. And if you scored between 50 to 75%, I mean, that was quite good. And if you scored 75% and above, that was exceptionally good. So the banks would need to look at their individual performance as against the issues they need to fix to have their NPS scores up. So the Cimg-CIS framework and the Cimg-CIS scores for 2021. In terms of our framework, earlier on mentioned the dimensions, and these dimensions is what goes into overall service quality measure. And if you have a very good service quality score, it would impact on your customer satisfaction and ultimately impact on your customer loyalty, which is what I explained to you earlier, behavioral and emotional. Once you have a very strong customer loyalty, it has financial implications for you, and it's either negative or positive. So if you have a very strong customer loyalty, it would impact on your market share positively, your incomes and your profits. If you have a weaker customer loyalty score, you would either have a negative market share, negative profits and all. But then you should know that your service quality is what is going to drive your loyalty and customer satisfaction, which would ultimately impact on your finances or your market share. So it's important that we look at our level of service that we deliver to our customers, because it has implications for us financially and in terms of our market share. Okay. Okay. So our overall service quality score is, we have 11 banks had 5-star, 10 banks 4-star, and only 1 bank had 2-star. Now, in terms of we as Cimg, our service score is 95%, and is based on the top 5 average top performing banks that we use to drive this particular score. And if you would see that only 2 banks actually meet that particular measure. So it means the banks have a lot of work to do. The next survey that we will be carrying out, we should see that most banks should be crossing the 95% mark. As the president earlier on said, that it's service quality and it's supposed to be 100%. So we shouldn't be seeing that we are scoring 90% and be patting ourselves in the back that we've done quite a good job. There's still room for improvement. As you would see our benchmark score as against the scores for the individual banks, only 2 banks cross that threshold. So it means there's still a lot of work to be done by the various banks. Okay, a research team put this together. So we had Dr. Kasati, Kobna Jakum, Rita, Mr. Franklin Soa, Adam Sule, Matthew Kofi, myself, Emmanuel, Dr. Alex Preko, and then Daniel Hemade. Thank you.
Wow. There's a thorough research. Let's give a round of applause again. Thank you very, very much, Dr. Irenaeus Kudona, for leading this and putting this together and presenting it as well to us. And so we know that based on the 2021 Customer Satisfaction Index by the Chartered Institute of Marketing Ghana, 11 banks are 5-star banks, 10 4-star, and 1 2-star. Of course, we know the names now, so I'm not sure I would have to go through the names again. But ADB, 2 stars. Anyway, let's continue, and we'll invite Dr. Joseph Franz to give us a short address and officially launch the report. Let's welcome him with a round of applause.
Thank you very much. That's a great piece of research work. And so thank you very much and kudos to the team. I'm quite humbled by the work done. So thank you again. I think that I'm here representing the governor, as has been mentioned. So I go straight to brass tacks. Mr. Chairman, executives of the Ghana Association of Bankers, President and members of the Cimg, the CEO of Consumer Insights Consult, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good evening to you all. I respectfully convey greetings of the management of the Bank of Ghana and also extend the governor's apology for not being part of this evening's program. Indeed, he would have loved to be here himself, but due to equally pressing responsibilities, he has asked me to participate in this August program on his behalf. Ladies and gentlemen, the Bank of Ghana is happy to be part of this occasion, not only because the survey conveys the Bank of Ghana's regulated institutions. The survey concerns the Bank of Ghana regulated institutions as well as consumers of the banking sector. But because this novel marketing research work particularly seeks to improve service quality in the financial system, we therefore on this occasion crave your indulgence to help us commend the leaders of the Cimg for the study and for extending an invitation to the Bank of Ghana to launch this important piece of research. Our participation in this important function affirms the Bank of Ghana's interest in all matters geared towards strengthening the banking sector and also demonstrates our commitment to ensure that the interests of consumers of the banking sector are duly protected in accordance with our mandate under the Banks and SDI Act at 930. Ladies and gentlemen, we are hereby today to launch a report on the impressions of customers of the banking sector regarding their experiences in doing business with our regulated institutions. This indeed is welcoming, as the information to be shared with us today will on one hand information shared with us today will on one hand be a source of information for the Bank of Ghana in its quest to regulate the conduct of regulated financial institutions, and on the other hand, assists the regulated institutions to better serve the public based on their preferences. The Bank of Ghana has had the privilege of an insight into the report to be launched today. We appreciate the depth of the report and the potential impact on the banking sector and wish once again to extend our warm congratulations to the Cimg for continuing to be the voice and leading advocate of marketing in Ghana. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the report highlights a number of positive customer experiences in traditional banking, and though according to the report, 94% of respondents of the survey indicated their satisfaction with their bank's performance, I want to emphasize that the dissatisfied 6% means so much to the Bank of Ghana, and I believe the banking community as well. Whilst we welcome these positive developments, ladies and gentlemen, we note that this has been made possible due to the support from all stakeholders and also as a result of the impact of the many reforms the Bank of Ghana has put in place in recent years. Ladies and gentlemen, after the banking sector cleanup exercise, which essentially dwelt on prudential requirements, the Bank of Ghana sought to empower the public by strengthening its conduct supervision function based on the provisions of the Banks and SDI Act. In this regard, the Bank of Ghana has introduced a number of consumer protection measures, including issuance of the Consumer Recourse Mechanism Guidelines, transparency and disclosure guidelines on credit products and services, and on claim balances and dormant accounts directives, among others. Most recently, Mr. Chairman, the Bank of Ghana has abolished a number of practices, fees, and charges levied against consumers of the banking sector by banks and SDIs, which were deemed unfair and detrimental to the protection of consumers' interests and financial inclusion. To provide more prominence to ensuring that the Bank of Ghana's consumer protection mandate is well articulated, the Bank of Ghana has established a market conduct office within the Financial Stability Department, clothed with the responsibility of ensuring proper conduct of banks and SDIs, and undertake off-site and on-site conduct examination as well as financial literacy programs to educate financial consumers. These measures are to ensure that consumers and the general public are fairly treated by the banks and SDIs, and that consumers are aware of their rights and responsibilities within the banking sector. It is expected that these interventions will help inform and empower consumers whose trust and confidence in the banking sector will give participation in the sector. Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, the Bank of Ghana is looking forward to a situation where ordinary customers, according to the Consumer Loyalty Compendium, will move to a notch higher to become clients, then to advocates, and finally to wanting to become partners or equity holders of institutions. It is thus our expectation that it is thus the expectation of the Bank of Ghana that all regulated institutions will conduct themselves with an utmost level of professionalism and ethical standards at all times and to all consumers. To this end, consumers are being empowered to expect nothing less from their respective banks and SDIs, therefore hold the power to determine which institution to do business with based on their expectations and experiences. We believe that the action of consumers will complement the Bank of Ghana's oversight responsibilities and measures in promoting good conduct of banks and SDI. To further empower consumers in this direction, the Bank of Ghana has intensified its financial literacy programs within the country. Mr. Chairman, consumers of the banking sector are likely to express their satisfaction of services of banks and SDIs if they are provided with sufficient and timely information to assist them make informed banking and credit decisions. Hence, disclosure and transparency is an important determinant of consumer experiences. The Bank of Ghana has therefore resorted to providing information to the general public through the publication of comparative fees and charges reports of banks, and more recently the publication of lending rates to be succeeded with a more informative annual percentage rates. Mr. Chairman, what we seek to achieve is an informed and satisfied customer doing business with service providers who treat them with fairness and respect and provide them with quality service. In a resilient banking sector for enhanced financial inclusion and economic growth. We at the Bank of Ghana are therefore committed to this goal, and whilst hoping that the efforts of the Bank of Ghana will ultimately translate into positive results of findings in surveys such as one undertaken by the Cimg, a lot still needs to be done in bringing all our regulated financial institutions at par in the delivery of quality services to consumers. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to commend the Cimg once again for the work done and for promoting our collective interest of ensuring that the interests of consumers of the banking sector are adequately protected. I wish to reiterate that consumers are a critical part of the financial sector, and for the Cimg to undertake such projects to assess the satisfaction level in the banking sector is such a worthy initiative which the Bank of Ghana highly commends. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to entreat all financial service providers to consume worthy service quality researches to make the system more efficient as apparent bottlenecks are minimized, if not completely eliminated. On this note, ladies and gentlemen, I declare the maiden Consumer Satisfaction Index of the Cimg duly launched. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Dr. Joseph Franz. So, the maiden edition of the Cimg Customer Satisfaction Index Report 2021 is duly launched. Let's give a round of applause again. And let's applaud the Chartered Institute of Marketing Ghana for also putting this together. And we're waiting patiently for other sectors, as promised us by the President. We're hopeful that next year when we get here, it wouldn't be only the banking sector, but other sectors. All right, so index now, and I'm sure there may be a question or two that some of us may want answers to. So at this juncture, if you have any question, just show, I'll get a microphone to you, and then you ask the question, and answers will be provided to you. Yes, you tell us your name, your question.
My name is Toma Emiri. I'm from Corporate Guardian, one of the media partners. I just want to be clear on something, since we are going to have to, put this report across to the public. Was when the research team were giving us the criteria used, for the kind of premise on which the questions were based, I want to know, was one of them, or was cost of service one of the considerations, in asking the questions, in asking customers? Some banks charge more than others, and Dr. Franz was just pointed out that the Bank of Ghana, for example, recently stopped banks from charging customers for certain things they're supposed to charge for. So I'm trying to find out whether the cost of services, and in some cases, what converges among the things that maybe influence some of the answers that were given to the questions that were asked.
Okay. Any other question? Okay, so it means that we all understand. Dr. Irenius Gudona, just one question for you.
Cost was not part of the questions we used to determine loyalty. One of the slides, I showed the drivers of loyalty when we did the regression. And you see that cost was not part of the attributes that we used to analyze loyalty.
Sorry, I also have a question. My name is Ernest. I'm from Business and Financial Times.
All right, Ernest, go ahead.
All right, so the total score, 95.1, based on top 5. Now we have, is it 22 banks, and then only 2, as you indicated, only 2 had crossed the 90 or something, I don't know, but you said only 2 were
cross the 95
region. So why then do you use 95 when only 2 actually hit the target, when we have about 22? Just some clarification on that.
Okay. Any other question? Okay. Let me get to Dr. Gudona again to answer this.
Dr. Sati will take the question.
Yeah, so fortunately, this slide is still being displayed. Let's notice that there are 11 banks that are categorized as 5-star performers. Is that okay? I made a point earlier in my remarks that excellent service is that which is 100% minimum. Is that okay? So we are saying merely by attaining between 91 and 99.9 does not let you cross. So notwithstanding the fact that there are 11 banks in the 5-star category, Cimg has set a standard, and that standard is premised on something. We have picked the top 5 performers in the 5-star category and taken their average, just to make it scientific. So for this study, the top 5 performers within the 5-star category, when you take their average, it is 95. So it's scientific, and we establish it there. So what we are saying is this. You are a 5-star bank if you are just the bank beneath Carl Bank is a 5-star bank, but they attain 91.4. It is not good enough because it does not meet the minimum threshold set by Cimg. And those sitting on top of 95, okay, those who have attained 95 and above are just fine. The desirable thing, however, is for banks to do 100%. Thank you.
Any other question? Well, in the absence of any other question, it means that we all agree. So thank you once again, Dr. Irenius Gudona, for this wonderful presentation. And that would bring us to the end of the program. But before we do so, we'll have the chairman's closing remarks. So shall we, with a round of applause, invite Mr. Hassan Adami to give us a closing remark.
Thank you very much. I think for the banking industry, today is a momentous day. And I've been there before, so I can understand the anxiety from tonight and for a couple of months down the line. But it's important. Clearly, the speech of Dr. Franz, who has outlined the importance that the central bank attaches not just to all the regulatory measures that we're taking, but to ensure that the customer and the regulator holds the feet of the banks to the right conduct and the right service. We should also take note that the institution that is undertaking the study, Chartered Institute of Marketing Ghana, we have all, as banks, over the years, and indeed other industry players, witnessed the very high ethical standards that Cimg has established in all of their work. So I think, for starters, we've got to take this seriously. And it's on this note that I would actually encourage the banks to take this seriously. But let's just be clear, in the opening remarks of Dr. Cimg-Csi, he indicated that this survey is premised on the lower end of the personal market segment. But the discipline that has gone into this is thorough, and it speaks lots of volumes. That segment, even if it is not significant in terms of your financial market, it is the litmus test of your service standards, and we should take it seriously. I think the other thing for the banks would be to say, when we come to conduct these surveys, please get engaged with the institutions and get engaged with the level of commitment that you give to it. And most importantly, this is the voice of your customer. So I would only want to reiterate that you will dismiss this study at your own peril. And I just want to say I've been there before, and we have a saying in our local language that when you fall, you don't look at when you're walking on the path and you fall, you don't look at the spot where you fell, you look at where you tripped. So I think we should go back, pick up the pieces, and I like the fact that even the Cimg own score still gives only 2 banks above the score. That means the entire industry, even those with the 4-star, still have significant room for improvement. So since there's significant room for improvement for the top, there's even more room for improvement at the bottom. I therefore want to reiterate my former colleagues, the staff, and for those that have all the brownie points, you have all the opportunity to celebrate, but to continue to improve. But I know that the transitioning is coming, and the Ghanaian customer can only be better served by very well studied indices such as this. Once again, congratulations.
Thank you very, very much, Mr. Hassan. And that brings us to the end of the program. We would invite Clarence Papo to give us the closing prayer.
Shall we close our eyes and bow down our heads? Heavenly Father, may your name be praised. It is you who have brought us thus far. We thank you for what has been accomplished here today. As we live here, may today serve as a catalyst to move us forward and to cause us to advance. We thank you for the lives of everyone who participated here today and virtually, and all those who watch from their homes. As we leave these premises, may your grace, favor, and mercy be with us as we drive to our various homes and destinations. May we recognize that you are the God of all wisdom, and you are willing to lead us forward. We ask that you bless the minds of everyone here and the leaders of the research team, our special guests, everyone whose efforts have made this program a success. This and many others we pray in the name of our Lord Jesus. Amen.
Very much, everybody. On behalf of the team, we're grateful that you joined us live on the Joy News channel. My name is Winston Amwa. See you tomorrow on the Super Morning Show. Have a lovely evening.
We are geared up and ready to support you on this journey to becoming a world-class professional marketer. Register today and be on your way to greatness. For more information, call us on 055-274-6592. Visit our website www.cimghana.org or email us on info@cimghana.org. Chartered Institute of Marketing Ghana, working for Ghana. We know the dream is big. We know the passion gets you going. And you have the potential to make great strides. The Chartered Institute of Marketing Ghana has always been an avid supporter of industry excellence and innovation. This is why we are excited to announce the Cimg Professional Marketing Qualifications. Cimg has designed practical courses to help you make that dream a reality right here in Ghana. We are geared up and ready to support you on this journey to becoming a world-class professional marketer. Register today and be on your way to greatness. For more information, call us on 055-274-6592. Visit our website www.cimghana.org or email us on info@cimghana.org. Chartered Institute of Marketing Ghana, working for Ghana.